Mesdames et messieurs,
The greatest festival of our contemporary society, the Olympic Games, is about to begin.
This is gonna be close.
Oh! They're all completely gassed! They've given it everything on the global bucket! Oh, yeah! Go! Oh!
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But that is an Olympic championship.
Ready?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, we are the show for you. I am your host, Jill Jarris, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Allison Brown. Allison, hello, how are you?
You say lovely, but I don't think you love me anymore.
Pourquoi?
You forgot our anniversary.
I know, I did forget our anniversary.
That's okay. I forgot our anniversary too. So last week was the show's 8th anniversary.
Pretty impressive.
I know you've put up with me for a long time. And my shenanigans.
Well, maybe
We'll talk after the show.
Yeah. It's nice that we've been able to be at this 8 years.
I know.
Thank you, listeners, for making that possible. Really, we can't do the show without you,
And there would be no reason to.
right? And I always love the fact that people wonder, what do you guys talk about when the Olympics aren't on? And we've been at this for 8 years, and we still have not really whittled down our list of topics that we have questions about.
It's so funny because I said this on the show where we talked about the gymnastics at Sydney, how that was the story I wanted to talk about since we started the show. And it took nearly 8 years for us to get to that story. I mean, there's so much. There is so much.
So thank you, listeners, for making the last 8 years a whirlwind of fun, a cauldron of
Chaos?
not chaos. Yeah, there we go. Because catastrophe was on my mind. That was not ideal, but we really appreciate you letting us be able to do this show. And you know what else was fun? This is a nice way to celebrate 8 years.
Very much so. Talk about somebody I've wanted to talk to for a long time.
Exactly. Today we're talking to figure skater Nicole Bobek. Now, Nicole was prime in my big time initial watching of figure skating, I would say.
Definitely.
She was the 1995 U.S. champion and the 1995 world bronze medalist. Her career on and off the ice has had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, if you remember. She had some really amazing wins, beautiful skating. She also dealt with a lot of injury and the sudden death of her coach, Carlo Fassi, during the 1997 World Championships when she was competing. She managed to stay in that competition, finished 13th, which was absolutely amazing given what she had to go through. She was part of the U.S. delegation at the 1998 Winter Olympics in Nagano, where she competed with a hip injury and finished 17th. Nicole has not competed since 2000. In 2009, she was arrested for being part of an alleged methamphetamine ring and received 5 years probation for her role in it. Today, she lives in Florida, has a young son, and she has now written a memoir about her life titled The Wild One that will be released on October 8th. We talked with Nicole about her skating career and decision to write about her life. Take a listen.
Nicole Bobek, thank you so much for joining us. This is kind of fun for us because we both remember when you were competing and got to watch you at those times. And actually, that's kind of where I wanted to start, was when you were competing at that 94, 95 kind of time frame. What was figure skating like? What were you being told was important? What were you being coached? How much control did you have? Kind of just set the stage for us at that point in your career.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. 94 and 95 was really different compared to how it is now, of course. I think our responsibilities were pretty much the same, but now the dynamic is so different of what is expected out there, and what we can do is just totally different. At that point, for me, it was exciting. It was a lot of pressure, but the demand on the short program and the free skate, because technically it is called the free skate because you're free to do everything that you can do in your long program. So your big pressure was really hitting that short program and doing those elements. That was the world I grew up in.
You were known for that gorgeous spiral. And you were kind of the first to do that with that really high extension. How did that happen? Was that just, oh, I'm flexible, I can do this?
Actually, I mean, yeah, there is flexibility that goes into play with that. But it was something that was, people have done it for many, many years, but the simplicity of it and also where your upper body is angled in the spiral. I've seen people do beautiful spirals and they're either more flexible or less flexible, but it all depends on where you put your upper body. You can drop it lower to the ice or you can really arch to keep it more up. And having long legs is a plus. It looks more beautiful.
Could you tell when you were having a good spiral day or when it was off, or try to make adjustments in while doing it?
Now, yes. Before, it just was automatic. Yeah.
That's the joy of being 18, right? It just
Yes. Yeah. Now it's all about like, does it feel good? Oh, can you really stretch your leg up that high? Or what are we doing today with this? But at that, when I was younger, it was so automatic. It just went right into place. And that was just repetition of doing it over and over and over.
I miss spiral sequences so much. I have to say that I just miss them so much.
Bring them back. More and more people say that, and I'm down for that, definitely.
at that season you were with Richard Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
And you created that gorgeous Dr. Zhivago program, which I think anyone who saw it will remember that. Whose idea was that?
That was my idea. I love the movie so much. The music I felt was such a known piece of music throughout different ages that it was something the audience is going to be able to connect to. And also just becoming Laura from the movie, the outfit, my clothes off ice were like I was in the movie with the button down jacket and just totally got into character as an actor would get into their act that they're doing in the movie, who they're trying to portray. And for me, that was always important to bring that full package into a program to express that to the audience and feel it.
How heavy was that costume?
That costume actually was pretty light. It was not that heavy. I've had much heavier costumes, but it was, I think the simplicity of it just hit the mark. And now when I look back at it, it's not heavily beaded. It's really just right. So wasn't heavy.
You changed coaches a lot. That was one of the, we got to bring this up.
Of course.
And your career was kind of known for this bouncing around and erratic. What was going on? What was happening on ice, off ice for you?
A lot was going on. I think it was all just about what was working for me and what wasn't. And when it wasn't, moving on. And some people kind of look down on it. I actually think it's fantastic. I got to work with so many great coaches and I got something from all of them. And that's what we did. And it was also how it, sustained. Was it working? Is this the real click or is it time to pack up and leave? And to be able to do something like that takes a lot. But it was just kind of my thing. I think with coaches, I wasn't an easy student. So finding that right click was always challenging.
Let's talk a little bit about Carlo Fassi, who I know is very special to you. And any skating fan knows that name. So what was it like? Because you started with him and then left and came back.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, Carlos started around age 10 and it was, I think, twice. It was kind of off. Once was not that I left him. He actually went to Italy. So it wasn't technically I left him. And he just was a father figure. He just knew how to work me correctly. And to find those little niches, like if something wasn't working, like, okay, just go and skate to the music. Or finding little things, that communication, but that bond we had, very much father-like to me. that I felt secure, comfortable, and very much loved, no doubt about it. And that really did work for me.
And then 97, of course,
Passed away,
was
unfortunately.
I remember watching those world championships and hearing that announcement and just being kind of flabbergasted at that whole what was happening on the inside. I mean, how did Krista function?
Well, I don't think we did. I think it's when that saying of just going through the motions, really, you do, because it was very surreal. And I don't think it like even hits you, like you have the shock of when it hits you. And then, I had all these people around me who were just, very supportive and like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And, I kind of just didn't like, I was in such shock and everybody just wanted me to skate, and everyone was, this is what he'd want you to do. But I knew I was not capable of going out and competing. But I did because I really didn't want to let people down. And I question that sometimes if I should have stood my ground and said, I'm not doing this. But I did. And it was very hard. And Krista, we were in such with that worlds and everybody knowing Carlo, we had this group consistently around us. And then we had the media and, other skaters and everything just really felt the heaviness of him passing away. It was very difficult, very difficult.
How is it in situations like that when, and just in the sport in general, because skating is such a sport that there are a lot of expectations and judges are looking at you seemingly all the time when they can. And having to live up, I don't even know what I want to say here, but there's pressure in having to live up to that. But when you lose your father figure
Mhm.
and you feel the pressure to not just perform your best, but also perform because people are saying that you should, what is that like?
It's very difficult to be able to separate the competitor to the emotional person. We're made kind of like to just change channels so easily. But maybe, deep down we're skating and we're dealing with a breakup or a family situation's going on, or there's something going on that nobody knows about. Maybe there's something going on with me, but we still have to be able to have that ability to literally turn that off and skate. And that's very difficult. It's, of I work with an alignment coach of her teaching me not to let my emotions contribute my behavior. And that's very difficult to do because things affect us, especially oversensitive people like myself, where every little thing I can read very detailedly on and it will affect me. So I've tried to work on changing that of using that out there on the ice. So, but now I'm not competing anymore or anything like that. But it is very difficult because we are competitors out there, but we do have lives. We do normal things. We drive cars, we go to the grocery store, we pay bills just like everyone else. And then we step on the ice and we're these like hardcore competitors and ballerinas and sportswomen out there representing. And you want to be great all the time. You want to be positive all the time. And I don't want to say it's like putting on a facade, but we're not out there going, oh, well, I mean, I feel so horrible. Everybody feels sorry for me. We don't want to promote that. We want to promote what a great sport it is and why we're doing it.
What does that do to a kid? Because you were 18, 17, 18, 19 during those really most exposed years when I have to be one person in public, but I have this whole other life.
That comes into personality disorder a little bit. It is difficult to, but I think that we're just brought up that way of having to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. And that kind of just goes with the sport. And I think within any sport also, I mean, we all have struggles and fears and things, but we're out there doing what we love and we want to do. So we're able to push those things. Okay, I'm going to deal with that when I'm off the ice. I'm not going to let that affect me until I'm done doing my skating. And that's the learning how to separate and be in control. I think it's a great, sports are a great thing for kids. My little one, he swims, he's in skate school, he does gymnastics and really thrives on it. I really find it fundamental for children to do sports very much. And some are a little bit more leaning towards it, and then others are a little bit more artsy or do other little things. And as a parent, I think it's our job to find those niches for our children to make that kind of great atmosphere of either working with a team or finding their talents to bring it to the best of their ability.
You had a front row seat for some of the worst 90s tabloid dating scandals, just in terms of the absolute circus, not just around Tanya and Nancy Kerrigan, but then even with Michelle Kwan and Tara Lipinski. What was the skating world like with this circus happening, and you're trying to be a serious competitor and your own tabloid things going on?
It's very difficult. With the whole Tanya and Nancy thing, really put skating on such a map, and it became very much soap opera. And we're all very grateful for it because skating got very popular and we made great money. But at the same time, it was very sad that it took something like that. I mean, figure skaters, especially the women, I don't see any other sport that is putting such artistry and physical strength together. That's what makes figure skating so incredibly beautiful. And when this came in, it was like, yeah, the story, everyone loves to watch the train wreck. And, we all do it. So it's, I think it just kind of proceeded on, and it went with me because I didn't follow the rules as much. It went with other skaters, and then they loved the underdog, or they were rooting for you, and then you got on top and they tore you down. And that's difficult to deal with. That's where your mental strength really has to come in strong and just be like, I'm just doing me. I gotta do me.
What kind of support did you get at the time? Did US figure skating have anything like media training? Because I would imagine that people today, if they're on the top or they're going to the Olympics, they get some kind of media schooling. But what happened then?
So USFSA they're always right there, right with you. Your team leaders, everyone, you do have media training. They're there for you. Now it's even more extended. There's so many outlets for help that we didn't have back then with, sports psychiatrists or nutritional programs. There's a craziness. The stuff I see, the off ice stuff now is beyond my mind. Like we did a little bit of off ice stuff, but nothing like it is now. And we just skated. But I think also having your family and having your friends and the right amount of people around you to really guide you and package you, to be there for you, to help you along the way is so important. And I had that. I absolutely had that. I had my mom, my aunt, my coaches, USFSA agents, all these people who, I want to say like holding your hand along the way, going, I got you. And, this looks great. All taking sides of how everything should be packaged out there, I think is really important. When it can be as simple as being a cook. When you do a plate, you make sure the whole plate is prepared and it looks beautiful what you're eating. That's what goes into it. You don't just slap it on and go, here's, at a 4-star restaurant. You make it as beautiful as possible.
What was your experience in Nagano? Just the whole atmosphere.
Well, Nagano was that feeling that gosh, you say it and my stomach even turns that, it's, you work your whole life to make the Olympic team, and then you make it and you're like a deer in headlights, like, oh my gosh. And you do feel a tremendous responsibility to the United States to represent them the best that you can. Unfortunately, I was injured and wasn't as prepared, but I still went. I still made the team. I ended up 17th. I did the best that I could. Wish I could have done better. Always, we always wish we could have done better when we didn't do well. But closing ceremonies were great. I didn't go to the opening ceremonies, which a lot of skaters don't do because it's a long process. You wait for a long time. Then it can be very distracting, and you still want to be very focused because you have your competition practices before the competition, and every single one is so important. So it was a great experience though.
How was the food? Had you been to Japan before?
No, I was in Korea, but I wasn't in Japan. I was too young to really understand that whole cult. Now I would be totally different there, but I was like, "Where's McDonald's?" And they had McDonald's, so a lot of the athletes we did end up at McDonald's. So, but there was little differences like buying hot coffee out of a can in a machine, or so many like just totally different things than United States that it can be a culture shock when you're so young. Also, of like, whoa, it was interesting though.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you're young in the greater sense of the world, but in figure skating, you're now starting to get old for this time, correct? So how was that as well? I mean, you're dealing with Tara Lipinski was freaking 15. That was crazy. Not
Well,
happy.
the body doesn't work the same anymore. I mean, I'm trying, but gravity has set in a little bit. And like I said, I have a child, so now my body's totally different. And now it's about just enjoying what I'm doing out there and really free skating. And I love to use that word because it really is just me free skating and just enjoying. I don't have demands of doing the jumps or doing this or doing that. I'm just exploring, I'm inventing, I'm playing with all different kinds of music, and I love to do that. It's fun.
Did you watch World Championships? Do you watch the US Nationals?
I did watch Worlds. I'm learning. I think I tuned out for a long time, and a lot of skaters do kind of tune out, I think. But now I feel like I've been gone pretty long, and now my life is very different now, and I'm very proud of the things that I've gotten through, and I want to be able to give back to the skating world. I think it's important for the other skaters to see that the past skaters are still involved and still interested to see what the new generation is doing out there.
Isn't it nice that they're getting a little older? I mean, the world champion was not 15 this year.
Well, that's always very controversial because I think that your body's very different, especially for women. We go through body changes, we get our periods, and we have hips, and then some of us have boobs, some of us don't have boobs. And it really does affect the skating. I went through that whole bad period time, and it's hard to get through. So I think sometimes, of course, the things were easier when I was 12 and 13 and 14. I didn't have hits. I didn't think as much as I did on the ice later on because those thoughts were not even there. I just skated. You know what I mean? I didn't have the pressure. The only pressure I had was on myself, and that was it. So the younger skaters are going to do these bigger things. I mean, I see it on Instagram all the time. There was like a Chinese boy, 9 years old, doing a triple axel, and I'm just going, what is going on here? It's just mind blowing. But I do think there's an advantage to pushing the kids when they're so young to get out there and do the things before real life starts happening.
How is that though physically? Like I've never landed a jump, but uh but seriously, like dealing with a lot of injuries. You had hip injury in Nagano, there's ankle injuries and other injuries, but like what is the pressure feel like when you're landing those jumps on the ice consistently?
You land about, I think it's 2 times your own body weight. So it is a consistency of landing on that one side, like a baseball player, always throwing with the one arm, the one arm. Of course, at some point, they all got injuries in their shoulders and things like that. That pressure when you land on your right leg, because I landed on my right leg, some jump the other way, of that consistently of pounding and pounding and pounding does take a toll on you for a while. I know a lot of skaters who've had hip replacement. I had hip flexor problems for, like, I think from the time I was 17. I don't remember a season where I was not injured with something. It was either hamstring or torn ligament or hip problem, back problem, always something, always something. But it seems like it just goes with the sport. Like, for figure skaters say they don't fall, that's impossible. That's mandatory. That goes with it.
You've written a book about your experiences, and why now?
I felt now was a very good time. I was approached a few years ago, and I didn't feel I was ready quite yet. And now that I've had my child and everything, I feel it's my superpower that I just comprehend things so much differently than how I would have if I didn't have a child and being a mom. So now I see things like, oh, now I get it. Now I see it so differently. And I think that's a great thing to be able to now do the book and kind of collect everything that's happened and how I reacted to things and why things happened the way they did. And the book has so much in it. It's not just skating. That's the thing. There's of course a lot of skating because it is my life and it is what I did my whole life. But there were so many other things that went on after, and now coming back into skating is a really great thing.
Last thing that I want to ask you is just sort of when you're watching skating and you hear about the controversies, and we've certainly heard a lot of bad things coming out of skating. When you look at it, what does that do in your own head? What's your reaction when you see all of that?
My reaction is always there's two sides to a story, and not to believe everything that's always put out there. That is for sure. I've had stuff written about me that was absolutely not true. And it's very hard to stomach. And there's nothing you can do. Now we have all these social media platforms, and it's there and it's forever there. And there's really not much you can do about it. And I think, people will draw up their own conclusion of how they feel about you and what they think. And I think people are also very forgiving, and people do love a comeback story for sure. And mine is definitely a comeback story.
How do you feel when you hear the word flutz?
Like I should have it tattooed on me. At least it's not klutz. But yeah, the flutz was an interesting. I never really realized how much I did it until now when I watched the videos. But everything was, we didn't have all those cameras like they do now. So I could maneuver it in certain ways where the judges really couldn't tell at certain places. So we worked our way around it for sure. But I rocked it. I definitely rocked it.
Dick Button always saw it.
Oh, man.
You know what? He did. And he definitely pointed it out. And he commented a few really interesting things sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
that's one way to
Oh my
put it.
But yeah, very not safe sport. But that was back in the day.
So, being a parent and also having a life where you've had some pretty low lows,
Mhm.
how, and I know this has nothing to do with skating, but I find it would be interesting in a way. Like, do you know signs to watch for in your children or how to be more empathetic and help guide them so they don't necessarily have the same low lows that you've had?
Yes and no. I was raised very smartly from my mom and my Aunt Joyce until my Aunt Joyce passed away. There is no doubt that my mom is like my hero. And I know that she taught me correctly and how to behave and how to say no to things. And I still did what I wanted to do. That was, this book is very much about, it is not a bashing book. It's not throwing people under the bus. I firmly stand by my mistakes because they were my mistakes and I own them and I move forward from them. And some things my mom knew, some things she didn't know, but the things that she didn't know, she can sit back and say, well, she got herself out of that and I raised a tough daughter. Children, sometimes my son will do something. I said, you really can't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. And he insists and he insists and he insists. And I'm like, you know what? Go ahead. When you get hurt and you're done, I'll be right here.
And we'll go to
So
the ER.
parents sometimes have to install the right tools to your children, but also give them the freedom to access them. Yeah.
Well, Nicole Bobek, thank you so much. It was, can I just say, healed a little piece of my heart seeing you do so well.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. It means a lot. And I hope you guys enjoy the book. It comes out October 8th. There's pre-sales already. Follow me on Instagram at Nicole Bobek 77 because I always post daily. I put a lot of fun stuff on my storyline. It's always me and my son and at the rink or dancing in the kitchen. I'm very, very silly and I like to promote happiness. And I hope this book is going to reach a lot of different kinds of people because it has a lot of different subjects in it and hopefully can be a guide for a lot of people too.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nicole. You can find out more about Nicole at NicoleBobek.com. Her memoir, The Wild One, written with Todd Fisher and Caden Ferrigno, will be out on October 8th. Happy birthday to you.
Happy anniversary to you.
That's right.
But
Big
not
day.
our anniversary.
No, my lovely wedding anniversary. That's a big day. So this is another reason to celebrate. Get Nicole's book. It's available at a number of the big bookstores like Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Books A Million. It is not on bookshop.org yet, but monitoring the situation. If it is available there, we'll add it to our book lists. Check them out at bookshop.org/shop/flamealivepod. If you purchase anything through that bookshop.org link, and that includes ebooks and games and puzzles.
Ooh, there are puzzles now.
Yeah, you can get jigsaw puzzles on bookshop.org.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. If you buy anything through bookshop.org/shop/flamealivepod, we may get a commission. That money goes to covering the operating costs of the show, and we greatly appreciate your support there as well.
Una festa.
See, we have some Milano Cortina news. We are getting closer and closer, ever closer.
Oh, gosh. I
I know.
know.
The Milano Cortina Organizing Committee announced the first 6 torchbearers who will be in the torch relay that starts very soon. They include hip-hop singer-songwriter Achille Lauro, who competed in multiple editions of the San Remo Music Festival and represented San Marino at Eurovision 2022. Flavia Panetta, retired women's tennis player who competed at Beijing 2008 and London 2012. Francesco Bagnaia, a motorcycle world champion. Franco and Andrea Antonello, a father-son duo who represent resilience, hope, and inclusion around Andrea's autism. Octogenarian Dario Pivarotto, who will be a 3-time Winter Torch Relay flame bearer, having participated in both the 1956 and 2006 torch relays. Isn't that awesome?
That's the best one so far.
No. And then finally, Chef Lucia Talone of Abruzzo, who has been giving free bread baking lessons to people in her community. So they're trying to run the gamut of arts and sport and inspirational people and history
And
and
old
culture.
guys.
I think it's really cool that they were able to dig up somebody find somebody. I don't want to say dig up, really, when you're dealing with an 89-year-old.
It's not a Weekend at Bernie's situation. They're going to roll them along. No, but because certainly the 1956 torch relay was not like the torch relay is now.
No.
And that they even had the records for who were torchbearers is pretty good.
Also, Arch Daily reports that the Athletes Village in Milano is finished and has been handed over. That's impressive. I believe it's a little bit ahead of schedule, too, which is good. IOC President Kirsty Coventry said in a press conference that walking through it almost made her want to be a winter athlete so that she could stay there. So that's exciting for the athletes. The village is located within the Porta Romana railway yard and has 6 new residential buildings along with 2 restored historic structures. Those would be a former locomotive workshop and the Basilico building. And then after the games, this will convert to student housing for the 2026-27 academic year, and they'll have below market rents because student housing is a big problem in Milano right now. Students have problems finding places they can afford. So this will be helpful for that endeavor. The Olympic Plaza and other public spaces in the village will be integrated into the greater plan for renovation and reuse of Porta Romana.
When I first read through this note very, very quickly, I read it as a former locomotive. Like you'd be able to stay in the locomotive, and I got really excited. But no.
We have some LA 2028 news. We're getting more and more 28 news. And there are days I just am like, come on, let's get done with Milano so we can move totally on to 2028.
So Snoop Dogg is back.
Yes.
I don't know
He
if
will
that's a
be-
good thing or a bad thing, but he's
I
back.
don't know. He's apparently popular. We don't really see him because we're doing our thing and he's doing his thing and we're not watching NBC coverage at all. So he will be back on NBC with his take on the games through the Snoop's Greatest Hits segment on primetime coverage with Mike Tirico. This will be fun. LA 2028 has partnered with Highland Electric Fleets to use their school buses. These are electric school buses that are owned by local school districts. LAist reports that these will not be for spectators. They're going to transport people like athletes, personnel, and officials, and I believe someplace else I read media.
I was going to say, I have a feeling we're gonna be on one of these
Yeah.
electric school buses.
Yes.
That would
So
be fun. I've never been on an electric bus.
no, and school buses are fine. For what we have to do, that's going to be A-OK transportation. It also means that if they can use more local stuff, because they always have to get buses from like all over the place. So this may be a nice way to save a little bit of money on that. I don't know.
You know, as long as they don't behave like the high school boys on my school bus when I was in high school, who used to throw bagels out the window at passing cars.
Wow. Wow. I'm surprised they didn't get pulled over for that.
What can I
We
tell
used
you?
to have, when I was in grade school, we had a bus driver who used to drink glass bottles of Dr. Pepper.
Did he throw those out the window? That could have been
No, he
interesting.
didn't. He would yell, "Hold it down in the back of the bus."
Okay, well, we are gonna see probably some media clicks forming on this school bus, like where
Probably.
people sit. Oh, this is gonna be
Probably.
fun.
All right, LA is going to invest $2.6 billion in the renovation of the city's convention center that is supposed to be delivered in time for the Olympics. That is because it will be a venue for a number of sports. This renovation has been really controversial. It's been in the news a lot. According to Politico, city officials have been trying for 10 years to get renovations done, but as we know from other games, an Olympics deadline will spur action. So it also, in this case, meant a much bigger endeavor because some of the city council members would prefer smaller renovations, but this is now a giant one. City administrative officer and chief legislative analyst both said that the work's not going to get done on time. Crews are going to have to work 6 days a week every week for 130 weeks. There's not a lot of give in that whole schedule, but hey, if Milano can build, hey,
An
America,
entire sliding
right?
venue.
In a year, we can probably get some convention center work done. I would hope.
I would
that
hope. Yeah.
Americans would be able to do that. The city controller said that financially this is a boondoggle because once you add in borrowing costs and other costs, the total bill is going to be $3.9 billion, most of which is going to come from the city's general fund. It's going to take 30 years to pay off that debt and another 25 years to break even. So this will be interesting. If you live in Southern California, LA area, and have some opinions, we'd love to hear what is going on out there directly. So you can send us an email, flamelifepod@gmail.com, or call our voicemail, 208-FLAME-IT.
For the no build Olympics, this is a lot of building.
Well, it's building that the city is taking on, so the Olympics aren't taking it on. Still no build.
Yeah, okay.
Let's move the shells a little bit more. Earlier this year, we talked about New Zealand and the New Zealand Olympic Committee potentially having a hospitality house and fan zone in Culver City. And the project needed city council approval because it's going to use the town plaza and Culver steps. Well, our friend Rich Perlman at the Sports Examiner reported that this week Culver City City Council voted to approve the location, so now it's official. Team New Zealand House will have a free to the public site at Culver City Town Plaza with 2 large viewing screens and a stage for additional programming, which could be Maori cultural exhibitions, local cultural and music events, medal celebrations, interviews, etc., etc. Programs will take place from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., probably daily. And the New Zealand Olympic Committee will partner with Culver City Cultural Affairs on additional programming and activations. If you wonder, as I do, what something like this costs,
It's a lot of Kiwis.
It is a lot of Kiwis, and the New Zealand Olympic Committee plans to spend about $1.4 million on it. Culver City's costs are gonna be about $800,000, and if stuff comes in over budget, they're gonna scale things back rather than spend more money, which I think that's very interesting what the investment in these hospitality houses are and how that pays out, hopefully, in tourist revenue.
They don't even need a house for me to wanna go to New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. Other hospitality houses sites are surfacing. So Greece plans to be in Long Beach, and Croatia has opted for San Pedro. Keep your eyes open.
Big doings in the Paralympic world.
That's right. The International Paralympic Committee held its General Assembly in Seoul, South Korea over the last week. Andrew Parsons reelected as president for a third and final term. I'm
I
excited, and
know.
then this is, like, all bittersweet because 'cause we're gonna have to say goodbye to Andrew Parsons in a
It's
few
like when an
years.
athlete announces their retirement before the season starts.
Oh, right. It's a
So we
long
know when
retirement.
his last Paralympics are gonna be, and we kind of can all but this will be a very interesting transition for the IPC because they're so much bigger and more complex and more integrated with the Olympics than they were when Andrew Parsons started.
Very true. So it'll be interesting. He won with a vote of 109 to 68 over Dong Hyung Bae of South Korea. Other good news is that the IPC recognized two new national Paralympic committees that they are from South Sudan and Bolivia. They also recognized the International Federation of Sport Climbing as a sports federation, which is good because sport climbing's debuting at LA 2028. Not so fun news is that IPC membership voted not to continue the partial suspensions of the National Paralympic Committees of Russia and Belarus. So this means we will see their flags and teams at Milano Cortina, although some events will be affected by bans still in place from sports federations.
So it is not entirely clear who we're going to see where.
Right.
Yeah.
What we will see is a very upset Ukraine because they are
Yes.
already very, very upset and don't know what's going to happen as this goes out. Of course, Russia and Belarus are very happy with this arrangement, but
Did this surprise you? It surprised me.
it surprised me a little bit. But I think when you look at analyses of the vote, I believe there are certain areas of the world that voted certain ways. But don't quote me on that because I've read a lot lately, but I don't have in front of me the actual discussion of that.
And this has no effect on what's happening at the Olympic side. We
Exactly.
let's just
They are
make
still
that clear.
neutrals. They are
They're
still
still
neutrals.
neutrals, and
Right.
we'll see what that looks like.
Speaking of the International Olympic Committee, we have adjacent news because although it's weird also that John Coates is not a member of the IOC anymore, but
And he
he
can
is
still go rogue whenever he wants to make us
right.
happy.
Yes, he is in the news. He has announced that he is stepping down from leading the Court of Arbitration for Sports Management Board due to not being able to travel internationally for health reasons after undergoing treatment for cancer. So, sad news, John Coates. We hope you're on the mend.
Yeah, no, can you imagine John Coates fighting cancer? He doesn't have time for that. He's not putting up with that. Welcome to Shekflastan.
It is the time of the show where we check in with our team, Keep the Flame Alive. These are past guests and listeners of our show who make up our very own citizenship of our country, Shukflastan.
And we've got some more results from the World Para Swimming World Championships. Olivia Chambers won more stuff. She's got a bronze in the women's 50-meter freestyle, gold in the women's 400-meter freestyle, S13, and gold in the women's 200-meter IM, SM13. Jessica Long finished fourth in the women's 200-meter IM, S8, and sixth as part of the 4x100-meter freestyle, 34 points relay team.
Rower Michelle Sexer won gold in the women's lightweight singles at the 2025 World Rowing Championships.
And we've got first results from World Para Athletic Championships in New Delhi. Noelle Lambert Byrne. Oh, wait, she's using her new name?
Yeah, she's using her new
Oh,
name.
cool. So Noelle Lambert Byrne took bronze in the women's long jump, T63, and Jaden Blackwell took gold in the men's 100-meter T38 and broke the world record in the men's 400-meter T38. I still can't get over him doing 100-meter and 400-meter.
I know. It's amazing. And para-javelin thrower Justin Fongsavan still has to compete. So we will be looking forward to that. Go, Justin. Fencer Alexander Macialis was elected to the FIE's Athletes Commission.
Wheelchair rugby player Chuck Aoki was invited to attend the 2026 National Training Squad Selection Camp, taking place November 11th through 16th.
Listener Erica sent us a really cool article from newportbeachindy.com describing how author David Davis's book Waterman, The Life and Times of Duke Kahanamoku inspired a plaque to honor Duke and other surfers for the rescuing of 12 people, 8 of which Duke himself saved when a ship capsized off of Newport Beach in 1925. And the article has a picture of one of the people who was holding David Davis's book. I mean, it's really cool to be an author who inspires some action.
And lastly, weightlifter Hampton Morris is competing at the IWF Senior World Champs in Norway on October 4th.
Excellent. Go Hampton. And go us, because we have a nice review of the week. Comment.
So a comment from our Facebook group on our 8th anniversary post, listener Meredith said, I absolutely can't believe you have been my friends in my headphones every week for 8 years. I'm forever great. I'm forever thankful. And we are so thankful for Meredith. She is such a big participant in our Facebook group, Keep the Flame Alive podcast group. So Thank you so much, Meredith.
Thank you, Meredith. If you'd like to hear your name here, leave us a review on your podcast app or check out the other ways to get in touch with us in the episode details. And that's going to do it for this week. Time to go have some anniversary cake.
Oh, cake. Cake as big as your head. Cake as big as a curling stone. Oh.
Well, we go eat some cake. Now I just want to make some cake. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening.
And until next time, keep the flame alive.